Hey everybody, this is PJ Riley from Lancaster Archery here in our video studio today. Kind of a unique video. We've done a couple of these before, but it's not one that we do all the time. But we are here today joined by Jon Willis from Crispi Boots. Jon, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Super excited to be on and get to chat with you. And I watch a ton of Lancaster videos. And so, man, it's like my little moment of stardom to get to be in one. So we'll write it in the diary tonight. I got to be on the podcast with PJ Riley. So it's awesome.
So, Jon, we're just super excited at Lancaster Archery to be a retailer for Crispi Boots. Our clientele here at our pro shop and our online customers, we get a ton of Western hunters, even Eastern hunters, folks that obviously are wearing different kinds of boots. And Crispi Boots, just the versatility that you guys offer. We're just super excited to be associated with Crispi Boots. We didn't know if people knew that we were a dealer, that they could come into our pro shop and try them on or buy from us online. But Crispi Boots, man, just let's give folks an example of why they're cool and what makes them so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, we're really excited to be with you guys, to have you guys as a dealer. I got my start here at Crispi running the customer service department. And at that time, I was the customer service department. It was just me. And since then, we've added some more guys into that mix. But, a huge chunk of our calls are from the Midwest and from the East Coast and even guys in the South, where, we've primarily been a Western boot brand for kind of since we came out. And we're getting all these calls from people that want to know about our boots, that don't have a place to try them on. And so when we started looking at building our footprint, in the Midwest, back East, in the South, kind of all these different markets, Lancaster was one of the first places that really popped up. I mean, you guys have got a great reputation. I've been buying stuff from you for a decade. So, I was really excited when you got you guys kind of all on board last year. About the first invitation I got to come out and see you, I was on an airplane and got to come and hang out in the pro shop for a day or two and talk about boots with a lot of different people. And so, I've been super impressed. We're excited to have you guys. We think it's a good partnership. And you guys have a really unique opportunity where, you have this massive online footprint and guys coming to your website or through your catalog that a lot of the specialty retailers that I deal with don't have that same reach. And so it kind of makes a little bit of a unique, situation for you guys, where a large part of your customer base is going to be people calling on the phone or getting on your website, maybe chatting in or sending an email, asking boot questions. And so hopefully I can answer some of those boot questions that you have or that your customers have had, and just be a little bit more of a resource. So I'm excited. We're really excited.
Yeah. So the Crispi Boot line, first off, as you mentioned, primarily we think of it as a Western boot company, but you have lots of models as well that work well, here in the East where we are,
Absolutely.
Where you're not climbing mountains, things like that, the Laponias, the altitudes, some of those boots like that. Especially, I'm a big fan of the altitudes for what we do. It's mostly flat. I mean, let's be honest, we're not out there in Utah climbing those big mountains, but it's more much less rugged terrain, but you're still out there. You're in the mud, you're in stuff. You got some elevation, things like that. Let's talk about some of the options that you have there, because
Absolutely.
You go from that to stuff that will get you hiking the Rockies if that's what you have to do.
Absolutely. I mean, we have boots that are, you could consider them just kind of everyday shoes that guys are going to wear to the office or wear to 3D shoots, all the way to boots specifically designed to hunt sheep and goats in kind of the nastiest of countries. So,
right.
When we talk about, especially, if you look at Pennsylvania or you look at kind of those states that are surrounding there, for years and years and years, primarily what guys were hunting in were rubber boots.
Exactly.
And one of the big things we talk about here is we're not ever looking to replace rubber boots. It's all about adding arrows to your quiver. It's about having the right tool for the right job. And so when you start talking about, wearing a rubber boot on like an early archery hunt where you may be hunting in September or October when it's 80 degrees and 85% humidity, you're basically turning that boot into a swimming pool.
Not fun.
Your little piggy toes are just along for the ride. So you can look at a boot like the Altitude that you discussed. It's got leather on the sides. It's got a good PU coated leather rand that will really give it a lot of durability. But the entire tongue of that boot is synthetic material that breathes really, really well. So, there's kind of some options there where, and even spring turkey hunting, when guys are talking spring turkey, there's a lot of guys that have never shot a whitetail from the ground that are running and gunning spring turkey hunting. And you want different equipment for those different, pursuits that you're doing. So,
yeah,
this is like I said, this is an arrow in the quiver. This is something that you're buying, kind of, I'm going to use this until this date or till this temperature, and then I'm going to move on to this. And to be really honest with you, if it's 10 or 15 degrees and you've got a 1,200 gram rubber boot and you don't have a long walk from wherever you're parking to your stand, that rubber boot might be the best tool for the job. We have an 800 gram boot that does a good job, but there's just, finding the right tool for the job really is the key for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the Altitude, for what you mentioned, is really great. We have a few other models. I'll kind of go into some of our new models a little bit later, but the new models I think would fit right into what you guys are doing. But even when you look at your neck of the woods and a lot of your customers, the phone calls we're getting are guys saying, man, I've been saving for 20 years and I'm going to go to Montana on this elk hunt, or, I finally drew a Wyoming, elk tag, or, I got a 3rd season Colorado deer tag or a 4th season Colorado deer tag. And so, they're kind of stepping out of a comfort zone when it comes to that. And so we always try to tell people, leather boots are fantastic. Anytime guys are talking colder temperatures or they're going to have one boot to kind of do a lot of things, look at a leather boot. There's going to be a little bit more maintenance required. There's a little bit more required of the customer, but if you can, take care of that leather, it's going to last you a long time. Something like the Nevada non-insulated would be a good choice, but we have a really good selection, and Lancaster carries a really, really good selection as well. So,
yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of folks here from the East, when they go out to West the first time, is they think, oh, well, I'll just take the stuff that I hunt with around here. And man, if you, like you said, if you're going to be like going up and down the mountains, Wyoming, Montana, whatever, and you're trying to use what you use in PA, I can speak from experience. That's not fun. You only mess that up one time.
Exactly. And I think there's a couple, if you've got a really good high quality, you got a good bow setup, you got a good sight, you got a good rest, good stabilizers, and you're capable of shooting 50, 60 yards fairly accurately. You don't need to change a whole lot with your archery setup when you do come West, but boots are one to look at that you don't want to skimp on. I would put backpacks in that same category. Make sure you have a really good pack that's fitted to you, that fits properly. Those are two things, you can get away with maybe cutting a few corners camo wise and some other things, tents or sleeping bags at times. But if you can't hunt, if you can't walk, if you can't hike, you're not going to hunt well. And so take care of your feet. Good socks play a big role in that as well. And so, there's the other thing though, that we see a lot too, is guys get very overwhelmed. I think at times it's the like paralysis of analysis, where they've waited for a hunt for 20 years. It's something they've never done before.
Yeah.
They start really getting into these details of, well, this has this and this has that. When in reality, we probably have 15 or 20 boot models that would probably work for a lot of different hunts. And there's a lot of boot manufacturers out there that make some really good boots that would work for a lot of hunts. So I think fit is the key thing. The boot has to fit you. It has to fit you well. And then make sure, if you're going to buy a premium boot brand like Crispi, you need to make sure you're wearing really good socks along with it. It's the idea of, a guy buys, a brand new Hoyt or Matthews, and then they want to shoot whatever arrows they tried to shoot on their old bow that they've had for 8 or 9 years. You can have a really great setup, but if you don't shoot the right arrows out of it, you're going to have a bad time. Same thing, like if you have a really great bow and great arrows, but you want to slap your old whatever sight on it that you've been having for 10 years, like you're not going to see the amount of performance you could out of having a really good side on there. So when we start talking boots, socks play a huge role in that. Make sure you get some good socks. They're going to breathe well. They're going to keep you comfortable. They're not going to smell. So there's a lot of things like that go into it.
You probably don't want the basic white cotton socks that, are $5 for a 20 pack.
Yeah, I would probably avoid cotton socks as much as you can. There's so many good socks out there. We could probably sit down and have a 2-hour conversation about socks. But what I always tell people, regardless of brand, look for something that's got a good blend of merino and synthetic. 50-50 is a good place to start. If you go too high on the merino, then you're losing some of those properties that the synthetic gives you. And if you go too high on the synthetic, then you're losing some of the properties the merino gets you. So find a good blend. You're going to spend $25 or $30 on a good pair of socks, but buy a couple good pairs, put them in the sock drawer, just wear them during hunting season. They'll last you a long time. And you don't have to go crazy with $100 or $150 worth of socks. Just get a couple good pairs and take care of them, and you'll be in good shape.
Yeah. So, John, a couple things I wanted to ask you about. The first one is, so for folks who are able to come in and, come into our shop, try on different boots, obviously that's a huge advantage because you can see the different options, put them on. But when you're putting on these boots, obviously, some of them are stiff when you buy them new. What should you be looking for? How can you tell when you have the right fit when they're new, that they're going to be the right fit once you break them in a little bit?
Absolutely. That's a great question. One of the big misconceptions that we get a lot from customers is we'll get the guy that calls us and says, man, I tried these on in the store and they weren't very comfortable. They were tight here, or they pinched there, or they felt too narrow, or they felt too short. But I knew that once I had 20 or 30 miles in them, they would break in and they'd fit great. And with our brand in particular, that's never going to be the case.
Okay.
If they don't feel comfortable in the showroom there at Lancaster, they're never going to feel comfortable on the mountain.
Okay.
And so when you're looking at fitting a boot in a shop, or, even if you order a pair online, the idea that you want to keep in mind is comfortably snug.
Okay.
You want to make sure that boot is holding your foot in place, well enough that you're not getting slipping or sliding or movement, but you still want it to be comfortable.
Right.
When you start talking about, the kind of key terms we talk about are like pinching or, something slipping at some point, that's going to tell you maybe need to go up or down a half size. You might need to change sizing a little bit, but comfortably snug, if you can keep that idea in mind. Generally, you want about 1/4 of an inch between the front of your toe and the front of that boot. Usually about a finger's width. And a lot of times the easiest way to judge that with a stiff boot is, loosen the laces as much as you can, slide your foot all the way forward so your toes are touching, and then you can kind of see down the back. You're not going to be able to do the old mom in the tennis shoe store trick of pushing on the toe. So
yes,
the leather on here is going to be tough to tell really where your toe is. So push your foot to the front, see how much room you have in the back. And these are all, feet are so different. There's 37 bones in a foot. And so even if you measure length and width, that's only giving you 2 of those measurements. Arch height, all these different things. The widest point of people's feet can be different. So I always tell people, start with your normal true shoe size. When most guys talk to us about fitting, we ask them a size, they'll say 2 size. They say, I'm a 10 and 10.5, or I'm a 9 and 9.5. We usually start with the smaller of those 2 just to kind of start at that point. And then we can always go up a half or down a half, however we need to go. But if you keep the idea of comfortably snug in mind, you want it to feel like it's holding your foot really well without having any pinching, binding. You don't want your toe, jamming in the front. So the boot will break in a little bit. The leather is going to soften up a little bit. It's going to form to your foot shape a little bit, but it's not going to change sizes. If we have a boot that changes size, it's either dried out a ton or it's soggy and wet. So as long as you maintain it, it should hold its size pretty well. And so don't kind of fall into that trap of, man, this isn't comfortable now, but I think it will be later. Make sure it's comfortable in the shop. Make sure it fits well in the shop, and then it'll just get better and better and better the more you wear it as it kind of forms to your foot shape.
Gotcha. So then on the flip side of that, John, what do you recommend for folks? Like we have, you can buy Crispi boots from us from our website. How do you recommend people go about doing that, buying a boot that they can't try on?
Absolutely. I always recommend, we tell people all the time, buy your normal true shoe size.
Okay.
There's guys that, you could go up or down a half size in a lot of different brands. In our brand, 90% of our customers are going to wear their normal size. We do have some that need to go up or down a half. A lot of that's going to be based off of your foot shape rather than a measured length and width. But start with your normal true shoe size. We also tell people all the time, if you're ordering online, like if you order from Lancaster online, first of all, don't wear those boots outside till you're comfortable and confident in the fit. It's really tough when they get a phone call or we get a phone call where a guy's like, man, I got these and I thought they felt good, but I wore them for 5 or 10 miles and they're covered in mud and I don't think they're right. That makes a return or an exchange a lot more difficult. So wear them around your house. Most companies, give you a 30-day kind of warranty return policy. So take advantage of that 30 days, try them with multiple different socks, go up and down the stairs, but keep them clean, keep them nice. Don't wear them outside till you're comfortable. And then, I know with you guys at Lancaster, if you're sending a boot back for an exchange, I think you guys are pretty easy to work with. You're willing to kind of help cover some shipping. If it's just something you're just returning, then I think customers paying return shipping back to you. That's pretty standard. We kind of do a really similar thing. You pay shipping on anything that goes out. You get one exchange that will cover coming back. And so, and we have customers a lot that will order, they'll say, man, I know I want a Nevada non-insulated, but I don't know what size. And they'll order a 10, a 10 and a half, and an 11. And they'll try all 3 of them on and send back the 2 that don't work. We'd rather have somebody do that than have somebody just take a stab at it, buy them and hope that they work. And then be frustrated for years that they spent a bunch of money on something that didn't fit them right. So go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't work in our customer service department, but I know our customer service is top shelf, that they'll work with anybody to address a lot of these situations. I know it's not going to be a situation where you buy them and we say, that's it, you're done. We're going to do a lot to make sure you get the right ones. What all that is, I can't say specifically, but I know that will be our goal, is to make sure that you have what you want and what works for you.
And absolutely. And, when it comes to fitting, when it comes to trying things on, I think the worst thing you can do is try it on once and decide it's great and then move on. Like I said, take advantage of that 30 days. Yeah. Try it on in the morning, try it on in the evening when you get home from work, your feet are maybe a little bit more swollen. Try it with 2 or 3 pairs of socks. Try some different things. Really take advantage of that time frame that you have to make sure that boot fits well. If you slip your foot in it with 1 pair of socks and you decide you're good, chances are, you may not be good down the road. If you go and you're test shooting all the new bows, you're not just shooting 1 arrow out of every one. You're going to try some different things. So take advantage of that. Be really conscientious. And the other thing too is, at the end of the day, it's going to be a personal choice. I'm not going to be able to help you. PJ's not going to be able to help you. We don't know how it feels on your foot. And your buddy doesn't know how it feels on your foot. That's the other thing we run into a lot, where a guy will call and say, well, my buddy went a half size big, and so I went a half size big, and now I'm having a problem. Just put it on your foot and make that determination based off of that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I know that I've talked to people about is, especially here where we are, that it is possible to overboot yourself. That's my own term. But in terms of, those boots, if you're going on that elk hunt in the mountains, the best boot for that, I can tell you, they're not going to be the most comfortable for going to a local 3D shoot.
Sure.
It's just that's not what that shoe is meant to do. And so you think, oh man, this isn't comfortable here. That doesn't mean that it's not going to do what it needs to do, on the mountain. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're always really surprised. We're really shocked when we go to trade shows or different events, the amount of people we see walking around that are wearing like a mountain hunting boot, out and around it, like at a place. Like, And there's guys that wear it, they'll buy a mountain hunting boot and they'll wear it every day to work, and and they're really happy with it. And I can tell you right here in the office today, none of the guys in here are wearing boots in the office right now. We're all wearing sneakers or tennis shoes or something. So, they have their place, use them for what they're meant to be used for. We do make some boots you could wear every day if you wanted to, and we have some models like the Nevada non-insulated is one I go back to a lot, because we have guys that are going on sheep hunts in Alaska, British Columbia, that are buying that boot specifically for that hunt. We also sell a ton of them to guys in the Midwest and back East, and all they're going to do is hunt cornfields, cut cornfields for pheasants, and that's it. So that boot is, it's pretty versatile. It'll handle a lot of different stuff, but it's probably overkill, honestly, for what a lot of guys are doing with it.
Yeah.
One of the real shocking things for us has been, as we've expanded back, with you guys there in Pennsylvania and even some of the Midwest guys, is as saddle hunting has gotten more and more popular, what we're hearing is these saddle hunters are wearing stiff boots, mountain hunting type boots, where in the past, we do a flex rating from 1 to 5, 5 being the stiffest, 1 being the softest. We never sold 4 and 5 flex models like east of the Mississippi ever. And then as saddle hunting's got more and more popular, the amount of 4 and 5 flex boots that we're sending back there is remarkable. And the reason is the guys that are hunting on that saddle, they're standing on a platform, or they're not even using a platform, they're just putting their feet against the tree.
Yeah.
That stiffness supports their feet the same way it does where a guy is, in a super extremely steep country where maybe they're only getting the side of their boot into the mountain. It provides that same support. So when you talk about being over booted or buying the appropriate boot for the appropriate thing, we make a boot called the Thor. It's a green, synthetic, very lightweight, early season boot, but it's a 4 flex. And there's a lot of guys saddle hunting that are wearing that boot. So, the stiffness of that boot can work in a lot of different terrains, but that's been kind of a remarkable change that we've seen, is how many people are going to stiffer models, especially saddle hunters.
Yeah, you're the norm. I mean, you have that platform for saddle, and yet you're standing right on the corner, right where that metal makes a corner. The most uncomfortable spot it would look like to stand on it. That's where all your weight goes.
Absolutely. And that's when you talk about that 5 flex boot, even if you just getting their toes on there, you've got a pretty stiff platform that your foot's going to hold against. So they've been becoming really, really popular.
Well, Jon, we got some new stuff, including some stuff that just came out this week. Let's take a look at some of those.
Absolutely. So we'll just jump right into these. So behind you there, you've got that gray boot.
Yep.
That's the Laponia 2. It's been one of our best-selling models for years. It's lightweight. It's flexible.
Super
it's got
light.
a decent amount of ankle support. When we first designed that boot, we really thought, Western hunting guys are going to wear it, a few weeks summer scouting, maybe 3-4 weeks archery season. And then once they moved out archery season, they were going to move on to something else. That was our assumption. And what we found was guys were buying that boot and wearing it almost year round, and really anything other than just deep snow, guys were still wearing that boot. And so we kind of listened to that feedback, and we decided to make a change. And the original outsole that we put on that boot is called the claw outsole. It's really thin. It's got kind of lower lugs, because our key design element was lightweight. How do we make this boot lightweight? But with wearing it year round, you need a little bit more tread. So this is the new Laponia 3. It's the same boot other than a couple small changes. One, the Laponia 2 had a fabric loop right here that we just eliminated.
Yep.
It made it a little bit more complicated to tie. And we just decided to get rid of it and just eliminate it. But the big change is we put a different outsole on the bottom. Yeah. This is the main outsole. It's the same outsole that goes on like the Nevada, the Guide, a lot of our mountain hunting boots. So it just puts a little bit more meat on the bones tread wise for this boot. So, and it really only added a couple ounces to the overall weight. So this is still lightweight. It's still very flexible, but you got a little bit more meat on the bones tread wise. So if you like the Laponia 2, you'll love the Laponia 3. It's just, we just put some all-terrain tires on there for you.
Gotcha.
The other one that we came out with, this is a brand new model for us, is we really like that Laponia 2. We like the weight, and a lot of the feedback we got, it was actually some of my feedback was, I didn't need it to be that tall. I didn't need that much ankle support out of it. Out here in the West, if we're antelope hunting or even some kind of lower elevation deer or elk hunting, the ankle support really isn't as big of a need for a lot of guys as what it could be in some other scenarios. So we thought, man, we could probably make that boot shorter and lighten it up. And so that's what we did. And we came out with the new Laponia Light.
Ah, yeah.
So same fit, same upper as the regular Laponia 2 or 3. We put the brown leather on there rather than the gray, but we really just eliminated the top speed hook from the Laponia 3. So brought it down. It has the original claw outsole on it that the other boot had. So really lightweight. So I'm really excited about this boot. This probably be what I kind of do any early archery hunting with. But, even back where you guys are at, this boot is comfortable enough. It's lightweight enough that, you could wear it all summer at 3D shoots. You could wear it spring turkey hunting. You can wear it a ton of different places. It looks sharp. That brown leather looks really nice. So
right.
We're really excited about that one. The other one too is, you have it back there behind you, is the Altitude. We have the olive Altitude and the brown Altitude in the men's that were really popular. Last year we came out with the anthracite in the women's, which is kind of a charcoal gray color. And one of the number one phone calls we got was from guys saying, why can't we have that gray color like the women's boot is? So that's all we did was we brought out the men's in the same color.
Gotcha.
The nice thing for a retailer like Lancaster is you could put one boot on your shelf and a women's 6 is a men's 5. So from a men's 5 to a men's 14, you can fit this boot on anybody that walks in. Okay. So, and it's a super versatile model that will handle lots of stuff really well too.
And that one was not the Altitude?
That is the Altitude.
Oh, that is the Altitude. Okay, gotcha. Different color.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Still the Altitude boot. It's just available in the anthracite in men's and women's now, rather than just the women's before.
I thought that was it, because that one I know is popular in our shop. We get a lot of folks buying that one, and actually a lot of our techs are wearing those just around the shop because they're super comfortable.
They're super comfortable. They're lightweight. They're breathable. And a lot of times when you have a really breathable boot, you're getting rid of a lot of leather that's on that boot to kind of help it breathe. This boot, all up on the sides, everything you can see is protected with leather.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the tongue and the toe that's the synthetic. So It kind of helps pull that heat off and breathe a little bit. So the other change that we made, and this is one that we're really excited about. This is a muddier boot. One of our guys, Matt's been kind of wearing it out, testing it, but this is the new Valdres 2. The Valdres Plus has been in the lineup for a long time, and it's kind of a sleeper boot. It kind of flies under the radar a little bit, but a lot of guys really like this boot. We really like it, but we wanted to give it just a little bit of a facelift. We put a different lace color on there, kind of changed the collar up. But one of the big things we did was we've been testing an outsole for about 3 years. And we've been looking at with the Mega Grip outsole that we put on that Laponia 3 this year. It's on the Altitude. It's on the Nevada. It's on a bunch of our boots. It's just a proven outsole. It works really well. But we wanted to see if we could make it better. And so our factory in Italy kind of designed this outsole with, with some of our partners, where we wanted something that was going to still have the same kind of soft rubber properties, but it maybe was a little bit deeper tread. It had some different components to it. And so this is something that it's still a Vibram outsole that they make for us here at Crispi, but it's called the Full Control outsole. This one's a little muddy. It's got some of that Utah kind of red dirt on there. But the nice thing with the Full Control, it's tough to see on the video, but these lugs on the outside, they're facing one direction.
Yeah.
These on the inside are facing a different direction. It's really supposed to help this sole bite into the ground really well, whether you're going uphill or downhill.
Gotcha.
It's got a really pronounced heel break back here, that kind of 90-degree heel break. So as you are going downhill, that bites really well. That was a pretty big change for us to go away from the Mega Grip. The Full Control, like I said, we've had it for a couple of years, almost 3 years, and we really wanted to make sure that we had tested it extremely well. And so we've had guys wearing it for a couple of years. We gave a pair to just a really diehard chucker hunter out here in Utah. He put about 700 miles on his last year, and he could probably still get another season out of them. So we're really, really excited about that full control outsole. And if you've liked that Valdez boot, you're going to like that update to it. So the only other change we made for this year was this is the Brickstall Pro. It has the red kind of outsole on it. Anytime in the past you've seen that red outsole, it's told you that's a 5 flex. That's the stiffest option available from us. We came out with a boot called the Brickstall Mountain last year in the 5 flex and in a 3 flex, and they both had a gray midsole. And we realized we'd made that mistake. And so we just put that same red midsole onto that Brickstall Mountain. The last boot that I wanted to talk about too it's a new women's model that we came out with. I don't have one here in front of you. They can put one up on the screen, but it's the women's Scarvin 2. So it's basically a women's version of the Nevada non-insulated. It's a leather uninsulated boot with a rubber rand. It's kind of like I said, the women's version of the Nevada. It's a boot that's been in the lineup forever. We got rid of it last year, and basically all the women called and said, "Why'd you get rid of that boot? It was the best one you made." And so we listened to the kind of that feedback, and we brought that boot back in. So it went away for a year, and this is us saying, "Man, we're sorry, we made a mistake, and we're bringing it back out." So, but it's just any woman that's going out west, British Columbia, Canada, Alaska, it's just a fantastic boot for any of that stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, we try really hard to be innovative. We work a lot on different models. I'd mentioned to you before about, we have prototypes of boots that, we're talking about 26, 27, 28. And it's one of the really unique things about our company here at Crispi is, we really believe in all of these models, but we're not married to anything. And we take customer feedback really important, and we put a lot of emphasis on it. And a lot of the boots that you've seen that I've showed you today are a direct kind of product of listening to that dealer feedback and that customer feedback. Those guys that are using it saying, "Man, I wish you would do this," or "Have you ever thought of trying that?" And we want to hear all of those things, and we take them pretty seriously, and we want to be able to make the best boots that are out there. And I think a big part of that is not having the ego of saying, "Well, we designed this and it's perfect and you don't know what you're talking about." If there's something that we could do better, or we could make a model better, we want to know about it, because we want to be the best and we want to build the best product out there. So that customer feedback we really value.
It is interesting. The more hunting that you do in different terrains, if you're just a Pennsylvania hunter, I think it's hard to appreciate what boots can do for you. There's just not much here where you need as technical a boots. Some in the mountains, if you get up Potter County, some of the steeper stuff, those guys probably do. But so many of us just hunt in the flatlands, and boots, like you said, rubber boots, you can get away with that. But man, once you start walking, this hunt, I'm going to have to hike 10 miles. Boy, a good pair of boots is worth its weight in gold. Yeah. Or I should say a bad pair of boots, man, you'll really be cursing those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked, last year, one of our guys here in the office, Lars, he was going on a 7-day elk hunt, and he really wanted to wear that Laponia. He's been wearing it a ton. It's lightweight, it's flexible, it's comfortable. And he's like, "Man, do you think that's a good idea?" And I told him, "I think you'll love it for 3 days. And then once you get to that 4th day, you're going to wish you had a little bit more support." And he ended up doing that. He wore it for a few days, and then he was able to swap it out. But that's the other thing too. You may be able to get away with kind of a lesser boot or a softer boot for a day or two. But when you talk about, man, you're maybe going to go on some Western hunt that you're going to be out there for 5 or 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily how it performs on day 1. It's how it performs on day 7 or 8 and how your feet feel after that. So, and once you put a 60 or 70 pound elk quarter on a backpack and you haul it out 5 or 6 or 7 miles or more, a good pair of boots is going to help you a lot in there.
Oh, man.
Not going to make it easier. It's still not a super fun chore.
Yeah, right.
but it will make your feet feel a little bit better, hopefully, at the end of the day.
All right, Jon Willis, Crispi Boots. Man, we sure appreciate your time today, and we are proud to be both a dealer at our pro shop and online selling folks Crispi Boots however they need them, or however they shop with us. But we certainly appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. I had a good time when I was out there last year. One thing that really stood out to me last year when I got to be in your shop and I got to meet a lot of the guys, we went to dinner, was the pride that you guys took in being part of what you were doing there at Lancaster Archery. And, there's guys that were working in the pro shop and there were guys that were working in the warehouse that I talked to, and everybody had a lot of pride in what they were doing. I think that's pretty unique. I deal with dealers all across the country, and sometimes it's hard to get the guy at the bottom to feel the same way about it as the guy at the top. And it really made me think a lot about who we are as a company here at Crispi, where, from the guy that's in the part-time kid in the warehouse to the president of our company, we're all in here every day. We're a small company. There's about 8 or 9 of us from the president on down.
Oh, wow.
And we take a lot of pride in what we do. When we have production meetings or design meetings, it's everybody. It's everybody in the company is sitting at that table. We want to hear people's opinions. It's one of the things I really admire about Mark Strickland, our president, is he wants to know what that part-time guy in the warehouse thinks about this boot. He wants to know what that customer service guy thinks about this boot, because those two single 20-something-year-old guys are hunting a lot harder than guys like me with a wife and kids. And so, a really good example of that is the Brickstall Mountain here. This was a boot we came out with couple years ago. The very, very first prototype of that boot that came into North America that existed, we gave to one of our customer service guys to go test because we knew he was going to put a ton of miles on it. I think that's pretty unique about us here. I don't think there's a lot of companies that they give that kind of perhaps lowest kid on the totem pole that type of product and say, go use it. So everybody in here is invested. We all take a lot of pride in what we do. And we love to talk to customers. We don't have any sort of answering service on our phone. If you call that 800 number, Mountain Standard Time from 8:30 to 5:30, person's going to answer the phone and they want to talk to you. So you can always reach out to Lancaster. These guys do a great job. And you can always reach out to us too. We're always happy to help you. And so we're happy to have you wearing Crispi boots. We want your feedback and we want you to have successful hunts. There's nothing better for us than talking to a guy on the phone and then 2 or 3 months later getting a picture emailed over of a big buck or a nice bull that somebody shot or a guy on a sheep hunt. We love seeing that stuff. So, and we love talking to people kind of at shows and all over. So come say hi when you see us.
All right. Jon Willis, Crispi Boots. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, PJ. Have a good day.